So this is the final of the Remenham Challenge Cup. We've got Leander and Imperial against Waiariki Rowing Club from New Zealand. But the way we should really describe this is the Great Britain Women's 8 against the New Zealand Women's 8 in the top-ranked event for 8s at Henley Royal Regatta for women.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of the Grands for the women, and two very tough crews racing today. The New Zealand crew has been coached up till 2 months ago by Dan Kelly, but Gary Hay has recently taken over the coach of the women's pair, and they're doubling up.
That is right. As we take a look here at that lovely overhead camera, the crew from New Zealand, and then we look across at the Great Britain 8 representing their own clubs here at Henley Royal Regatta. That's why they're in the different kit. And yes, as you say, the New Zealand Women's 8, they raced in Poznan a few weeks ago against the British team. On that day, the British came in 3rd, the New Zealanders came in 4th, but since then, the New Zealanders changed their crew, brought in their world champion pair, put them in the 5 and 6 seat. So I can only think the New Zealanders are thinking they've strengthened this boat up, and it's going to be a really good race, I think, a real close one here.
I think so, and the Kiwi pair broke all the records, didn't they?
That's right, the Kiwi pair of Grace Prendergast and Kerry Gowler, been dominant really within that pairs event at the World Championship level. This is about Henley Royal Regatta. The flag drops, both these crews get away. Long strokes from the New Zealand crew, drawing this out and taking distance, I think, really early on now.
Yeah, really efficient looking crew there. Loads of aggression and power coming in. Not really splashing much water at all. Coming to the end of the island to see where the crews are at. Again, the British crew there, really cohesive unit as well.
As you say, real cohesive unit, not much splashing, plenty of power, plenty of connection in this Great Britain 8. We'll call them Leander and Imperial as they are in the programme. On the near side, it's the New Zealand crew, and the New Zealand crew at the top of the island maybe have a small lead, but it's not much. This is what 8s racing is all about. Coming out of the top of the island at Henley Royal Regatta on the Sunday of Henley, side by side with your opposition, trying to eke out an inch a stroke as we see Emma Dyke there in that 2 seat, trying to help her crew to start to move away from the crew from Great Britain beside them.
Yeah, that's a crucial point, isn't it? You gain maximum speed and you transition to something fast and efficient to sustain you through the middle of the course. If you don't do that, all the wheels will come off towards the end. But both crews here, really solid rhythm. British boat maybe, Leander and Imperial College maybe getting into a slightly more effective rhythm. Let's see where that takes them.
We're hoping to do that. For my money, they're pretty much neck and neck, completely level here as they've come past the quarter mile. Looking at the 2 coxes there, we're slightly behind in this camera boat. Looking at Caleb Shepherd, the male cox in the coxing seat for the New Zealanders. Matilda Horn pretty much alongside him as they look towards each other, eyeball each other, and know they really are in this one absolutely head-to-head, stroke for stroke.
This is going to be a great race. They really are stroke for stroke here, just taking the same speed. So both crews have transitioned to a very similar speed, so this is going to come down to some mental toughness. Who can sustain this rhythm for the longest?
Well, as you say, mental toughness teamed up with all of the training that they put in. We know how hard these crews work. 39 strokes a minute with this New Zealand crew at the moment. They'll be used to that. They'll probably be able to sustain that. They'll have worked so hard back at home, and now here they are over in Europe. And they're here for a long time, but they're here for a good time. They want to win some races, and they're really taking it to this crew from Great Britain. And if you ask me, I think the crew from New Zealand might have opened up a small lead.
So they're 39 strokes a minute. The Kiwis have sort of brought the whole level of rowing up. They brought in this high rating approach to racing. Most people thought it was unsustainable, but they've managed to train in such a way that they can sustain that sort of intensity.
Well, I just took the Great Britain 8 at about 37 strokes a minute, so the Kiwis slightly higher, and I think starting to just eke out a little bit of a lead. So it's a bit of rate, length and power pretty much is going to be the same stroke for stroke. Don't know if you can see anything in the blade work looking at that Great Britain boat.
No, it looks pretty cohesive, but again, if you're giving away 2 strokes per minute, you either have to be more powerful or rowing longer. If the Kiwis are as powerful rowing as long, then they're going to be going quicker. And even at that angle there, it's still quite hard to tell. But both crews, I mean, world-class crews, medal standard crews, world level, both really great blade work and cohesiveness.
Well, I think the New Zealanders made a little bit of a move. They took a little bit out of the crew from Great Britain on the right of our shot. Now they've both settled more or less back into the same pace, both pretty much down there on about the 37. But as they've come through that halfway mark, I think the crew from New Zealand have opened up an important looking lead. It's looking like it's pushing out towards a length now.
They just look a bit more physical, don't they, in the second half of the stroke. They're just generating a bit more handle speed. I think that's what's given them a bit more distance.
It's really interesting to hear, Adrian. Handle speed. So early on in the stroke, it's about dropping the boat, the spoon in and not making it move too fast. Then it's all about that acceleration once the blade's locked in, and the New Zealanders are doing it really well, and as you say, adding the speed to the boat, and we're going to get this position right here, which shows that it's a length and a little bit of clear water.
In the last 2 minutes, they've taken a massive margin out of British 8. That sort of level, that's absolutely incredible. They managed to put that much distance in within 2 minutes.
You see the faces there, always pretty impassive, trying not to show the pain. Looking at Jackie Gowler in the stroke seat, backed up by Elizabeth Ross. They're a newer stern pair combination. They've also put that together, and they're backed up by that World Championship pair of Kerry Gowler and Grace Prendergast. And at the moment, they're setting something up in that stern that the rest of the crew are working with and moving with. We want to see something happen from the crew from Great Britain, because this gap is at the moment still just getting bigger.
I mean, that's a turnaround, isn't it, from the last World Cup, to put a substitution in like that to make such a big difference at this level. I kind of wonder what effect this will have when they go and race at the Rotterdam World Cup next weekend, because they'll come up against each other again.
Well, they will come up against each other again. They'll come up against each other all season. For today, it's about trying to win this Remenham Challenge Cup. Later in the year, it'll be about trying to be 5th or above at the World Championships to secure a place for the Tokyo Olympics. I was speaking to members of this New Zealand 8 this morning. They're saying how much they're loving being in Henley. They're actually enjoying the pressure of having this big crowd watching them, because they know that's what elite sport, elite competition is going to be all about. They've embraced this atmosphere. They're using it to their advantage. They're going to come down towards the stewards enclosure. There's going to be a lot of noise, but they've got a decent lead now of nearly a length of clear water over the crew from Great Britain.
And they're not taking any prisoners, are they? They've got what seems like a pretty solid lead, but they are still working to open that up. They're not backing off in the slightest. They really want to send a message that this Kiwi 8 is fast and is a medal contender.
And that's certainly what they want to do. As we look at the Great Britain 8, we look at Rowan McKellar in the stroke seat. She really wants to try and make something happen. She wants the crew to back her up. They're going to need a spectacular change of pace. And at this stage of the race, it seems very difficult for them to do anything, with the dominant force of the crew from New Zealand on the right of our shot coming down in front of the grandstand.
And the Kiwi 8 here will be able to hear the cheer of the crowds as they come past, egging them on. And the Brits will be getting most of the cheer, but still, the crowd here really does appreciate great rowing.
Well, Fiona Gammon in the bow seat of that Great Britain crew is not going to be able to get her back overlapping with this crew from New Zealand. They're coming down past the progress board. They're coming to that floating grandstand that sits by the finish line, and this is our camera on that finish position. And as we see them coming down towards the line, it's going to be Ella Greenslade's back that crosses the line and confirms that win for the crew from New Zealand, from Waiariki Rowing Club, ahead of the crew from Great Britain, from Imperial College and Leander Club. And that's a win in the Remenham Challenge Cup for the crew from New Zealand. Well, we go back up to the start here when things were level, and they stayed level for a pretty long time, Adrian.
Yeah, it did. When they transitioned into rhythm, it did seem like the crews were very evenly matched. But then the New Zealanders, maybe they just got into something sustainable, and then they just pushed. And the British just didn't have the speed to live with that.
That's right. I guess they managed to just almost keep the boat speed higher for longer. And I guess the British tried to stay with it. They tried to stay with it, but then there was that important bit, as you said, somewhere in the sort of second quarter, where that New Zealand crew were just able to shake off the British, and then they opened up quite a big gap quite quickly, and then were able to hold it all the way to the finish.
And you don't get that in eights very often. I mean, that just shows, actually, they were just a faster crew today. They just had superior base boat speed, and a great race all round.
The British girls, they were very brave. This women's 8, they've raced well here on the Henley course, but it's going to be another year when Great Britain aren't going to take home the Remenham Challenge Cup, and it's heading for New Zealand.